In this video, we're going to be going over my top 5 favorite Black Series action figures for 2023. So I had to think about this video for a little bit because if you recall last year, I just did TVC, Black Series, and Hot Toys all in one video, and I ended up having 11 figures afterwards. But this year I decided I really wanted to break it up. I kind of wanted to do it last year, but then time ran out and I ended up not doing the video until January. But this year I wanted to get all these videos out before the end of the year. And I think 10 action figures is a little much in many cases, especially for Black Series and of course in the case for Hot Toys. I either wouldn't get the 10 action figures for the year, or if I did, it would just barely be there, and then be like, well, what's the point in doing the video if I got like 10 Black Series action figures for the whole year? I mean, of course these are going to be in the top 10. And of course they'd be my favorite because I went ahead and got them all. But I think 5 is a little bit more realistic, and it kind of narrows down the scope more, and I have to do some more justification as to why I picked the 5 action figures I did for the top 5. So I think that is a better number to work with. So the two characters you're looking at here, these are actually my honorable mentions. Dr. Aphra here and Starkiller, excellent action figures. They just don't quite cut it into the top 5, I think, in this round. Dr. Aphra mainly because while I think she's an interesting character, I can't say I'm the biggest fan of her character. But I really like the outfit she has. It reminds me of like a 1920s and 30s style fighter pilot, which is pretty interesting. It's nice seeing realistic looks interpreted into Star Wars, and I think that's a very neat thing. And I think it's a nice upgrade from the Dr. Aphra we got before. That's a very nice action figure as well, but this one's just a little bit a step or two ahead. And mainly, I think they smoothen out the face a lot more. It doesn't have as much of a glossy look, and it just looks better overall. For Starkiller here, another excellent action figure for 2023. The reason why I didn't include him in my top 5, and I had to think about this one carefully, while the sculpt and everything looks really good about it, I think the engineering is just, it's not quite as fluid as I would hope it would be. Especially with the heads here, I really have to work at it to pry those off. Maybe that's just my figure sample, but I have a feeling it's not figure specific. I think it's just a general thing with this particular action figure. And some of the joints just don't feel the best. And the lightsaber as well. The blade just does not want to stay in the hilt at all, almost. If I work with it a certain way, it will just fall out every time. And it doesn't work very well overall. So I think for Starkiller's case, excellent action figure. It's just some engineering flaws, I think, about it that justify it not being in the top 5. So you could say they're probably figure number 6 and 7. And there's a few other ones here and there I've thought about including the Dual Zen Darth Vader, but you know, it's Darth Vader, and that action figure is good and great as it is. It has some of its own flaws as well. And same with Scorch. Another excellent action figure, but again, some flaws with that as well. So I think these ones definitely justify as I'm tipping my hat to them, like, hey, you guys are excellent, but just a couple minor tweaks about you, and then you might be top 5 worthy. So that's the case for the honorable mentions. What else can I say? So unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a hold of all the action figures I wanted for 2023. There's a few that could potentially make the cut in the future, and that's ARC Trooper 5s. I just haven't got around to getting that one yet, and I will have to get it on eBay, and it's like $50 for it minimum. So there's not a big rush on that one, but at some point I do plan to get 5s. I'm trying to think. I'm sure there's a few other ones here and there. A couple like the Republic Commando battle droids, for example. Just some small ones like that. The rocket launcher or stormtrooper would be an interesting one. I don't know if that is 2023 or not, but that's one I'm kind of eyeing every now and then. So perhaps in another year the list might have changed, but this is as it stands today. Although I think the top 5 I picked are pretty clear cut, and yeah, we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. So which one should be figure number 5 here? I think for number 5, we're going to go with Mara Jade here. Now, depending where you're at in the world, I think she may have been released towards the very end of 2022. But in that case, it would probably be Australia and Asia. But at least here in North America and Europe, she did not make her availability till 23. And most of the list I've seen of figures released in 2023, Mara Jade is always on that list. It's an action figure that I never thought would get released in the Black Series, so right there, that makes her a winner in my book. As far as the tooling is concerned, she does utilize a lot of older tooling, as you can see by the double joint at the knees there with the pins. But it's no problem for this action figure. It's really good. Head sculpt's really good. The overall sculpt is good. I think at least everything from the waist up is pretty much brand new. And the holster actually is a reuse of the Dr. Aphra holster there, which is a pretty interesting detail. But still, despite this reutilizing a lot older parts, it still feels like a really new action figure. The engineering feels really good about it. The likeness to the character is basically spot on. I know some people have a problem with the 3 3/4 inch figure with the 80s style hair, but I personally really like that style. I wouldn't have minded it on this Black Series figure here, but the hairstyle she does have is really good. It has that wave to it, has a lot of nice detailing. Yeah, since it's a character that most of us probably would have never been on actually getting made, I think she definitely deserves a top 5 spot for 2023. Figure number 4 here. So I'm going to give that to Ahsoka Tano here for the Clone Wars, mainly in her season 3 and season 4 outfit, I would suppose. So this action figure actually kind of surprised me, and it might be the more surprising action figure that I've gotten for the year overall. At this point, I'm getting sick of Ahsoka, but the action figures that Hasbro has made of her have been really good. Some of the best engineering I've ever seen, and this one's no exception. The overall sculpt is perfect. I think it's quite frankly, I think it's one of the best Black Series action figures that Hasbro's ever made. It just looks really good. I think she looks more like her animated style, which for a Clone Wars action figure, I'm not too bothered by. I know Hasbro is very inconsistent about making their animated figures either in an animated style or a realistic style. I think it worked perfect for this one. The head sculpt is really good. That's probably the best Ahsoka likeness that we've gotten to date. And they've all been excellent, I think, or at least the last several, that is. The engineering on it feels really good. It feels pretty much flawless to me. You can get her in just about any dynamic pose possible, kind of similar to like Mara Jade here. And it's just a really nice action figure. Probably the most impressive one of the year for me. At least the most surprising one, that is. So yeah, Ahsoka Tano will go down as number 4 on my list. Number 3 here, I'm going to go ahead and give to Darth Malak. So if you've seen my review of him, you would know that he's kind of a defect because his arm was unfortunately glued, or his left arm was glued to his side here, and it had a little bit of a tear after I had to pry that open basically. So that's kind of unfortunate, but that's not really a fault of the engineering or the figure itself, really. That's just a quality control issue. But if that was the side, then yes, this is a perfect action figure. Another character that most of us probably would have never bet on actually getting a Black Series action figure. Darth Revan, we figured was probably just a fluke back in 2016, and the only way someone like Malak would ever get made is if it was a fan vote. But Hasbro proved us wrong, and they came out with a big surprise this year. I forget when Malak was released specifically. I think he may have been revealed in 22 actually, and then of course it's taken until the last several months for him to actually get released. But still, it's a really good sculpt overall. It's not 100% faithful, I think, to the original Knights of the Old Republic. I know probably the source material they're using for this is what the remake would have been, which that game, at the time of this video, is still in limbo. Nobody knows what's happening with that. We hear conflicting things. Is a game made? Is it not game made? Is it canceled? Is it not canceled? Is it on the back burner? Whatever the case will be, it's probably still going to be many, many years off before it would ever see the light of day, if it ends up seeing the light of day. So this Malik is probably based upon what he would look like in that game. So I guess it gives us some insight as to what the developers were going for. And for the most part, it's pretty faithful. The best thing I think about it is they actually got his height right. He stands at 6.5 inches, which we know Malik is a very tall character as it is, and compared to Revan, he definitely towers over him. So I'm glad Hasbro got that correct. And overall, the sculpt is very nice. It's neat that you can take his robotic mouthpiece off here like you can with the 3 3/4 inch figure, and it has a lot of nice detailing in it. I'm just very happy with it overall. Another favorite character of mine that I never thought would see the light of day in Black Series. Then for figure number 2, another kind of obvious one here is Bastila Shan. Similar to Malik, another one I didn't think would ever get made, and to this day, it's going to remain as probably the best Bastila Shan that Hasbro has ever made. Hard to say if we'll ever get a new figure for TBC. I'm leaning towards no. If anything, they'll just do a repack of her with the photoreal face. I can't see Hasbro really justifying tooling an all-new Bastila Shan unless they plan on reutilizing her for other female Jedi, which she has a very unique outfit on and kind of a unique sculpt where you can't really reuse her for other female Jedi action figures, especially if it's during the Galactic Republic era and the prequel or original trilogy era, that is. So I can't really see Hasbro doing that. But at least if they ever did redo a 3 3/4 inch action figure, we know what they're going for. If you've seen my review of Bastila, you know that my initial reaction to her was very impressed. She exceeded my expectations, actually. Of course, she does reutilize a lot of parts. I think these are the legs of, like, Urusine, for example, and she was also, or these legs were also reused for not Urusine, Aayla Secura as well. But it was Urusine, I think, was the original to use those. But overall, the sculpt is good. The head sculpt is really good. The paint turned out very nice. Everything about it is perfect. I can't really ask much more from Bastila. But now that we have both Malik and Bastila here, then along with Revan, it would be nice to get the entire KOTOR 1 and 2 party members, the entire cast for that. But of course, I highly doubt it will happen. The only reason why I think Bastila got made is because there is a 3 3/4 inch action figure of her. I doubt the Hasbro team would have even been aware of Bastila if it wasn't for the 3 3/4 inch action figure. It just seems to be how it goes for them. I mean, at this point, it's kind of surprising we haven't got like Canderous Ordo as either his KOTOR 1 appearance or as Mandalore in the second game, or like Carthel Nasi and Mission Vale. At this point, kind of surprising as well, we haven't gotten a Zalbar in the Vintage Collection since the Black Series has one of him. Of course, that's not the best action figure in the world, and if they made a TVC figure of him, that would require all new tooling. But he's a Wookiee design that they probably could reutilize for other Wookiees out there. Maybe not Chewbacca, for instance, but maybe generic Wookiees, or maybe a Wookiee 4-pack or something like that. Another idea off to the side, maybe like a troop builder pack of Zalbar, Chundar, or Chungar, whatever his name was, and then their father, was it Freya, I think it was. That'd be an interesting pack, and then maybe one more is like a generic Wookiee. Just an idea there. But still, back to Bastila. Excellent action figure all around. One of my favorites. Probably one of my favorite Black Series action figures in general at this point. It's just excellent all around. So then now the moment we've all been waiting for. As you can see in the thumbnail there, the Magna Guard's obviously the best action figure for 2023 for the Black Series. Actually, just kidding. Probably not too surprising to a lot of you, but Darth Malgus is easily the best 2023 Black Series action figure. And even with my bias aside, I still think a lot of people would agree with that he is the best action figure, potentially the best Black Series action figure that Hasbro's ever produced, because he's just perfect in every way. He looks exactly like how he does on screen in that famous Old Republic trailer where they invade the Jedi Temple. His height, or not his height, his height is spot on as far as I could tell. I don't know if he really is taller than Malik, but obviously between the two action figures here, he's quite a bit taller than Malik. It's one of those instances where you bring out Revan, for instance, and then you bring out Malik and you think, whoa, he's kind of intimidating, and then you bring out Malgus and it's like, whoa, he's even more intimidating than Malik. So that's pretty nice. Excellent action figure all around. The engineering is solid on it. The cape is perfect on it. His hood fits on perfectly. Probably one of the best hoods I've ever seen on a Star Wars action figure in general. It just slides over his head normally. Lately, I haven't been having his hood up over his head when I have him displayed. He looks great as is. Only one, I guess, criticism I have about it is his breathing apparatus. I think would have been better as similar to Malik here, where it was just a clip on the side and then you could take it off no problem. Instead, you have to pop his head off and take it off that way, which is kind of an inconvenience, and especially with Black Series action figures, it's kind of hard to pop heads off the figures. Sometimes you have to soften the plastic to get it to happen. One particular action figure, the Attack of the Clones Padme, I have yet to be able to pop that head off at all because I have a custom soft goods cape or robe that she has to replace the plastic one, and I just can't get that head off at all, no matter what I try. And I really don't want to work with it any further because I don't want to risk potentially ripping her head off. So that's one thing about Black Series action figures. But still, it's not that big of a deal, and quite frankly, I don't really need to see Malgus without his breathing apparatus on because I recognize him more with it on. But at some point I may get around to trying to pop that head off and seeing what it looks like without it. But yeah, that's my top 5 Black Series action figures for 2023. I think this is a solid list all around, and I hope you agree as well. And same with my honorable mentions here on the side. Like I said, maybe in the future things will change with this list a little bit. I may look back on it a couple years from now and think, maybe this action figure would have been or should have been in that list instead of this one, for instance. Like I said, I haven't been able to get all the action figures for 2023 so far that I wanted. ARC Trooper 5's being the main one, and it's because he's expensive and kind of difficult to get a hold of. But I do plan on getting hold of him at some point. And just from what I've seen so far, it is possible that he could potentially make a list like this. Maybe not top 5, but he could make a top 10 easily, I think. But at some point I'll get around to him. But with these 5 action figures, I think they're all solid all around. And if you don't own any of these 5, or you own some of these 5, I suggest you complete the set and get them all in your collection. Highly recommended all around. So for 2023 in general, I think it was a pretty strong year for Black Series. In fact, there were some months here where, especially this last summer and last fall, I thought that Black Series was kind of knocking out of the park more than TVC was in many instances. Especially when we started getting like Malgus and Malik and Bastila and Ahsoka, for instance. Just all newly tooled action figures, or mostly newly tooled action figures, and they're all to scale, and they all look accurate, and they all look really good all around. So I think this year overall has been really strong for Black Series, and I really hope it continues into 2024. It's hard to say right now. In fact, just off the top of my head, I can't really think exactly what's supposed to be released next year. But whatever it is, so far I haven't been too like, I can't wait for this action figure. I think a lot of the greatest ones that I really anticipated have already came out, like Bastila and Malik and Malgus, for instance. So we'll see. Hopefully the momentum continues, but who knows? There's really not a lot of shows coming out next year that I think are going to be action figure worthy. Andor, we know, is pretty boring for action figures. Bad Batch Season 3, I don't know what much more Hasbro can really do with the Bad Batch. And there's that Skeleton Key show as well, which just from what I've seen of that, I'm not really excited for that show in any way possible. But we'll see. Going back to it, overall 2023, strong year for Black Series, and I'll leave it at that. So anyways, that concludes this overview video. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know if you agree with this list as well, and let me know what your top 5 might be. I'm very interested to hear what everyone's opinions are. And if you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That way you know when more videos get posted. And check out some of the links in the description if you have not done so already. And as always, thanks for watching.